Hi, everybody. I'm Ben Mankiewicz. Tonight, we're discussing films made by William Wyler during World War II. Joining me is the author of Five Came Back, Mark Harris. Five Came Back is the story of five directors, Wyler, Frank Capra, John Huston, John Ford, and George Stevens, who entered the military to make movies to advance the war cause. Welcome back, Mark.
Glad to be here.
Up next, a 1944 documentary directed by Wyler, The Memphis Belle, a story of a flying fortress. First of all, how did Wyler get himself into the Army Air Corps, and what was the mandate here for this film?
Wyler sort of had to create his own mandate. He got into the Army after being invited and was very frustrated that he couldn't get an assignment. They couldn't find anything for him to do, and he sort of on his own initiative got posted to England, where it was his idea that he wanted to make the first great documentary about the air war. And he had two ideas that he kind of combined into one. He thought it would be great to make a movie about the 10-man crew of a bomber, where you got to know them all, and also great to make a movie about a bomber on its 25th mission, because after 25, the bomber got a rest and the crew got a furlough. So those two things merged into a documentary about the Memphis Belle, which was going on its 25th mission, and its crew.
And though he fiddles around with some of the details here, the basic story is true. There's nothing reenacted the way there was with John Huston.
Right. Wyler's own filmmaking team urged him to settle for reenactments on this, as many other directors were doing out of either preference or necessity. But Wyler...
Or by the way, or safety.
Right, because this was not just a sort of theoretical risk, but an actual one, to go up and fly missions over France and Germany and film in the air under incredibly difficult technical conditions as well. We have to remember these bombers were unpressurized, so if you took off your gloves, which you really kind of needed to do to operate the camera, you had about 20 seconds before you could succumb to frostbite, which was at that time putting a lot of pilots out of action. If you were shot at and your plane went down, you could die, which actually happened to one of Wyler's two cameramen who was on a different plane than the Belle.
So the fact that some of what you're going to see in this movie isn't technically aboard the Memphis Belle, which had been shot at and had suffered some damage and was being repaired, everything you see is a crew flying over France and Germany on a bombing mission, taking flak from German anti-aircraft guns with the potential to be shot out of the sky.
That's right. There's nothing staged in this in the way that you'll see in some other World War II documentaries. The only thing that is fully recreated is the soundtrack, and that was a complete necessity. There was no way to record live sound given the conditions inside of a bomber. So the soundtrack was recreated, but even there, Wyler strove for accuracy, and when the crew of the Belle was on its victory tour across the United States, he made sure that tour ended in Los Angeles and then had them come in and record their own voices.
So as they see what's happening, they're saying the things that they would say.
Right. He wrote a very, very minimal script for them, but the script was based entirely on notes that he had taken about what they actually said during the bombing runs.
There is one description early on in your book about the guys, the crew of the Memphis Belle, and they were amazed at his courage. They kept thinking, you don't have to be here. Why are you here?
Right. I mean, Wyler was almost the generation of the fathers of the very young men on this crew, and never sort of pulled rank and never flinched from danger. And he was there because of all of these directors, in many ways, the war was most personal to him. Wyler was born in a region of France that at various times was either free French or under German occupation. As war spread across Europe, even before the United States was involved, he had many, many family members and friends who he was trying to get out and pledging to sponsor if they could be gotten out. So Wyler took on a great deal of responsibility, and being in the war really meant something to him personally.
All right, Mark, thank you very much. Let's take a look at the film from 1944. Here is The Memphis Belle, a story of a flying fortress.